I joked with you when you got off the plane. There have been a few articles in the press about how you're busting out a little bit, leaving your handlers. You took a few questions from the press corps the other night.
Not just the other night. We're doing interviews every day. We've got interviews scheduled every day.
Are you liking it more?
I've loved it from day one, and I have always been in my positions of public service, which goes back 14 or 15 years now. I have always been one who has loved being able to reach out and speak to those whom I am serving, and more importantly, hearing from them so that I can make good decisions. I love this campaign. I love being on the trail, and I love speaking with Americans who are desiring the reform of government that's coming.
When you get pounced on, I know your staff has said don't watch it. Do you want to stand up on the mountaintop and complain about it and set the record straight? Is it frustrating?
I want to stand on the mountaintop and not complain about it, because that does no good. I want to stand on the mountaintop and let Americans know more about who this John McCain is and what this ticket represents, and how we have the track record, the only candidates in this race with a track record truly of being able to reform. We have not just talked the talk, we've walked the walk, both of us. So I want to stand on a mountaintop and say, yeah, John McCain is the next commander-in-chief that we need. He will get us through these next 4 years that may be pretty tumultuous. That's what I want to tell Americans.
What about what has been an invasion of privacy? It happens when you run for national office. There's a great desire for your medical records with 2 weeks to go before the end of the campaign. Who do you see about that? How do you feel about that?
About specifically the medical records?
Sure.
Whatever.
About privacy.
My life has been an open book, and my life is an open book today. And Americans deserve to know that the background, the associations, the affiliations of a VP candidate. I'm willing to continue to be an open book, but I'll tell you, there have been some unfair shots taken by some of your colleagues against certainly trying to spin my record into something that it is not, and that's been a little bit frustrating. But I think the most frustrating thing has been some unfair shots taken against my family, because they have been based on lies, and that's kind of hurtful. But I'm not going to complain about that and stand on the mountaintop asking for any kind of sympathy or pity through this because a shot's taken. Because, Brian, I recognize that the real shots that really matter to Americans are those they're taking them personally in their own lives. Shots, for instance, people worried about losing their home or losing their job in these economic woeful times, perhaps worried about losing a loved one over there in the war zone. Those are the shots that really matter that Americans are taking. Political shots in a campaign, that doesn't mean a whole lot.
Anything you want to correct the record on?
Oh, we've been trying from day one to correct the record on things like my alleged attempts to censor books. Of course, that's never happened, and my record of I'm not going to rehash some of the old ugly stuff, but Brian, there is some frustration there in understanding you can't pick a fight with those who buy ink by the barrelful in the media. It doesn't do any good. But if these things were true that have been said about me or my family or my record as a governor and a mayor, if those things were true, I wouldn't like me either if I were to believe all the things that have been reported. There's been a lot of false allegations out there.
Did I hear you just agree to release your medical records?
The medical records, so be it. If that will allow some curiosity seekers perhaps to have one more thing that they can either check the box off that they can find something to criticize perhaps, or find something to rest them assured over, fine. I'm healthy, I'm happy, had 5 kids. That's going to be in the medical records. Never been seriously ill or hurt. You'll see that in the medical records if they're released.
How do you stay up during this time? I asked the senator the same question. 10 points down, and a tough number in our poll last night. 55% of Americans don't see you as qualified to be president. How do you keep going through that number and try to change that number?
How do I stay up? I stay up because I know that we're on the right path in this reform of America's government that is so needed and it's so deserved by America's families and our businesses. That reform is so necessary. I know we're on the right track towards getting there for the electorate. And I stay up because I know that it is a positive message that we have. And I stay up also recognizing that as an underdog, that's okay. That motivates us. It makes us work that much harder. We're up against a lot, Brian. We're up against a very unpopular President Bush's administration right now, and those who want to link us to that administration, though they're so far off base, because John McCain, of course, is known as the maverick who has had to fight his own party when need be. He has the scars to prove that, scars to prove that he's fought the other party also in need. So we've been up against so much, and yet we're still in the hunt. And you talk about being 10 points down in a poll. AP just released a poll showing that we're 1 point down. So the polls, we're not going to pay attention to those. It's going to be November 4th, that final poll that really matters.
Final question as the helicopter starts competing with us. If you are unsuccessful in this effort, how will you feel about your country? And are you in national politics to stay?
Our country is the greatest country on earth. I'm going to continue to love this country. I'm going to continue to support my son who is over there in Iraq fighting for the freedoms in this country. I'm going to continue to be such a proponent of all that it is that this country represents. I think it's perfect ideals and values that we represent, and the virtues of freedom. So I'm going to keep on keeping on in that arena. As for furtherance in a political career, I'm not even going to think about that. I'm thinking between now and November 4th what it is that we have to do in reaching out to the electorate, letting them know who John McCain is, what we represent, and how electing John McCain is the right decision for the future of America.
Even though you know the talk about you will start the day after the election if you're unsuccessful.
Well, I'm concentrating on November 4th and just having a lot of faith in the wisdom of the people, understanding that getting the economy back on track and winning the wars, John McCain is the right leader to get us there on both those fronts.